Yo, welcome to another edition of the Prize Picks Prediction Show here on Orangebloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Jason Sukamel. That's Alex Dunlap and Anwar Richardson. And we're talking Texas against Texas Tech, the final regular season game in the Big 12 for the Texas Longhorns. And there's just a little bit on the line. Do us a solid, like the video, subscribe to the channel, get notifications. Hell, go to everybody's Twitter page and like that too. And we'll also be talking about our favorite prize picks in this game. Thankfully, PrizePicks has their Texas selections up early this week. Fellas, Texas and Texas Tech, does anybody see anything other than Texas winning this game fairly handedly? Like, does anybody see a close game, I guess I should ask first and foremost?
What's close? Within one score, maybe?
Yeah, 10 points.
I'm about 10, but I'd probably be – that's about as close as I'd call it, probably. Yeah.
What about you?
There's like I'm about 10. Well, what? Don't you know? Can't you subtract and tell us how many points you're at, Jason?
I don't have – sadly, Anwar, I should have a prediction in my head by now.
He's going to make it up.
I'm going to do it on the fly. I'm going to do it on the fly, Anwar.
Okay.
Well, Anwar, I guess I'll start with you. Do you see a flat-out ass-kicking taking place Friday night at DKR?
No, so for me, I can talk myself into that, but at the end of the day, that hasn't been Texas's MO. For the most part, it hasn't been ass-kicking. They've been winning. I definitely think it'll be a win by double digits. I'm going to go, Jason, with a 14-point win. So just so you know how that thing is done, Jason. But nonetheless, I'm not going to – I think it's around something. I don't know. I'll make it up as I go along. But I think at the end of the day, Texas, the good part was that Steve Sarkisian on Monday had said that he didn't really expect anybody to miss. So because we know injuries – are not going to really be an issue, even though Sark says he feels like Texas Tech is getting healthier. This is a team that they should beat. I know what past history kind of goes towards, but I think there's a different team this year, sitting at 10-1. They'll be as motivated as they can catch because they know they win. They're in. This is not an early season game, so they know that they'll finish the job. And everything I've seen strikes me as a team that will go out and handle its business when it's all said and done. So now I'm not expecting a close game catch. I can give you my score prediction, which will be 34-20 Texas. I just see that kind of as a 14-point win. Texas gets over 30 points. And so I got 34-20 at this moment.
Interesting. What about you, Mr. Dunlap? Where are you? Where's your brain on this one?
Man, well, we've had to kind of shift our schedules just a little bit this week with Thanksgiving and the game being a bit early and stuff like that. But so it isn't quite the usual. We're looking at 24, 36 hours early in our process that we're having to do this. But so this could shift for me by the time that I have to submit my final prediction into old Jason to put up on the site. But,
old Jason, what's that mean, dude?
Old Jason.
I
didn't mean it like old. Come on, man. But the way I see it right now, this is the one game I'm going different this year than I've gone before, and I just think it's going to be a blowout. I think the Texas goes out there and finally just blows out a team. I've watched Tech all season. I understand that they're getting healthier now. I understand that there have been points in this season where they've been down to like their third team quarterback and all the rest of it. It's just, look, man, what Texas matches up best against is what Tech does best, and that's run Taj Brooks. And Brooks is good, man. He's good, right? He's the guy on that team you certainly fear that you think is the biggest problem for sure. And the way the Texas matches up against that is something that I feel really confident in. I'm not sure how much they're going to get going, and for that reason, it's going to be the biggest spread that I'm going to be predicting all year. I mean, I know that anything can happen in this kind of game. I mean, Texas could go out and lay an egg. I get it, but I think that we've seen lately. We saw last week, and I talked about this on my show. It's like we saw the ability through the course of this season, outside of the Oklahoma game, it's at least to finally be able to win close games, right? Just to close out games and win them. Last week, I don't know if you guys kind of saw this or thought this, but last week I thought they almost took a step forward on that, and they just kind of kept the team at arm's distance for the whole second half of that game. It didn't ever feel like things got too squirrely or where things were going to turn into a cardiac game and like, oh gosh, this again. I think that the next step in that evolution is going out and just going nuclear on some team. They have the athletes to do it, and this is one where I understand that Texas is favored and all that stuff. But I mean, like, who would need motivation for this game? This is for everything. This is it. This is the game. So, I think Texas rolls them.
Is there a score?
Oh, are we doing scores? Yeah, it's yeah. It'll be
What's
the
going on? I just gave a score.
Just say.
Okay, no
score.
I thought the question was, how do you see it sort of playing out? I didn't know we were like doing.
Well, we
the thing
always
where we
do scores.
See,
Okay.
everyone talks against the score.
I know we always do scores, but typically we kind of give our reasoning first, then you go
Right.
through it.
No,
All right,
no.
You have, so give
All
me
right.
a goddamn score.
I 48-21.
All right. Jason, you said, I know you're making this up as you go,
Nope.
so
I've got it written down now. I'm
let's
ready.
hear it.
All right. I kind of went back and forth. Like I was like 34-24, but I was like, and I went 38-24, but I'm like, Tech plays pretty good defense. Still, I mean, yes, CJ Baxter was good last week, but I still think Jonathan Brooks being out is an issue. So I kind of keep them both ways. I'm like Anwar in that, I think Texas, there's a part of me that thinks Texas should win this thing super easily. And Alex, and I'm like, they match up well with Texas Tech. I mean, Taj Brooks is going to run the ball 20, 30 plus times, but that shouldn't scare Texas. But I think Texas Tech does a good job of, not like Iowa State, but they can kind of condense that game down, if you will, and maybe shorten it and not allow Texas to just race up and down the field. All that being said, then I'm like, hey, Texas knows what's at stake in this game. Weirdly, like, it hasn't been Texas Tech people that have talked trash, but there is kind of some bad blood, it feels like, coming into this week, right? I mean, I think Texas wants to prove a point, and it's not necessarily coming from people in Lubbock. I mean, a little bit, Joey McGuire a little bit. But so I think Texas has the motivation it needs. I'm like, okay, blowout, but I don't know. I don't see a blowout necessarily. So what I ended up settling on, I think it's pretty close to Anwar. I've got 34-21. I think Texas wins. And I think that would be a slight cover of the spread, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going Texas 34, Texas Tech 21.
I'm more with Alex, I think, than I am with Anwar and Jason on this one. I think, and look, I need to raise my hand. Every time I pick Texas to absolutely obliterate somebody this season, they've not done it. I'm about to pick Texas to obliterate Texas Tech. It should be noted that Texas has played – they didn't really blow out Rice coming out of the gates. Wyoming was a close game. These home games have kind of been closer. Weirdly, Texas, I think, has played probably its best games on the road this season. Baylor was kind of an ass kicking. They did well in Waco. They did well in Ames. And obviously they go to Alabama and win that game on the road. I just have a feeling that Friday night's a bit of a coronation, that I was really impressed with Steve Sarkisian on Monday. He seems like in the moment, I think he's exactly who he needs to be and wants to be as the head coach. I think a football team is a reflection of its head coach. So I think this is a Texas football team living in the moment, in their own skin, very comfortably. I think they know that the Big 12 championship game will be in a week, so they still will have work to do. The light show will be back. It's the second night game of the year. Texas Tech is now bowl eligible, so they don't come in with anything other than like haterade pride at stake, right? Spoil the Texas season, but this doesn't really make the Tech season in any large scope at all. And I think, as Alex pointed out, what Texas Tech does best, Texas is really good against. This is a really good Texas run defense. I think Taj Brooks is a future NFL player. And I think he'll have a little bit of success But I like Texas big in this game. I like Quinn Ewers big. I like Xavier Worthy big. I like Adonai Mitchell big. I think we can see CJ Baxter have a big game, and we're going to get ready to get into these prize picks in a little bit. And I think I like a lot of the Moors. I'm hesitant because I keep getting it wrong with regards to how big of a margin these games are going to be. But give me Texas 44, Tech 13. Total ass kicking on a national level or on a national stage. Everybody will be watching. And we just haven't seen this like a total Texas obliterated
Just
somebody
dusting,
kind of
man.
performance.
It's just a dusting, right? It
Texas
feels
needs
like they
some
got
style
it.
points.
It feels like if you're going to be an 11, like what I thought about Catch, if you're going to be an 11-1 team heading for the Big 12 championship, wouldn't it make sense to look back on that season and there's at least one that is just a dusting? You know,
Well, and this reminds me a lot of the 2009 season where that season was really hard and Texas was undefeated. And there were a lot of hard games. And ironically, the Tech game was closer that season than I think a lot of people would have expected. Texas had to gut out a 3-point win over Oklahoma. But at the end of the year, they got A&M at home in the exact same setting. And that was like the 49-9 game, I think. I can't remember the exact score. I think that's right. But in kind of the same situation, we saw maybe the best performance of the year, or at least the most one-sided ass kicking of the year in that game. I don't know. There's a little bit of symmetry between those two seasons. We're going 44-13. I will be disappointed if Texas doesn't thrash Texas Tech. If there's one absolute ass kicking that needs to be handed out this season, to me, it's Texas doing it to Texas Tech. A little bit of revenge from a year ago, the smack talk, the Big 12 commissioner, the Big 12 goes through Texas Tech, goes through Lubbock. It all adds up for me in a big win, but we'll see. Like I say it, and I'm acknowledging right off the bat that it'll probably be wrong because every time I've done it this year and thought that Texas would lay the wood to somebody, it hasn't happened. So, but I think we all think, what did you say, Jason? You went double digits, though, too, right?
34-21 is what I settled on.
Yeah. And the spread is
12.5, I think I saw maybe.
I
like
think
13
line
and a half,
moved.
12 and a half,
12.5.
now Blake says.
I got a text just a few minutes ago that said the line moved to 13.5.
Okay.
You know, like everything you're saying, Kitch, I almost want to change my prediction because Sark knows they need style points. I could see them trying to run it up if possible. And frankly, they need to try to do it again in the Big 12 championship. I mean, Texas could really help itself if they said, hey, we closed it out with a nice win on the road and then 2 blowout victories, including in the Big 12 championship game. They need all the eyeballs and all the positive impressions they can make if they're talking about college football playoff possibilities. So I'm on record as 34-21. I'll probably stick with it, but now you got me second guessing myself.
Hey, don't second guess yourself too much. I've been getting the outcomes correct, but never the points. So every time the game is close, I've usually predicted a Texas romp. So we'll see. Let's move over to
I just want to add in something. So as what Alice had mentioned about the run game, just the Texas defense has held 7 opponents to below 100 rushing yards in a game this season, including the last 5 opponents, which, by the way, is the longest streak since 2009. So just know from a run defensive standpoint, last 5 opponents have been below 100 yards rushing. So they seem to be in a groove right now.
Well, and onward as we transition over to the prize picks selections that we like the most this week. Taj Brooks, his prize picks right now is at 100.5.
it's
I'm under all day.
Yeah, well, that's the problem is that Brooks is really good. I mean,
they'll run him like 4 of his last 5 games.
Yeah.
They've given him 30 plus carries.
I don't know if this is a game where they're going to be able to do that, though.
Yeah, the one thing I think about Brooks, like I feel Brooks is a guy who every week I want to put an entry in for his more. But with this week, with the matchup with Texas, it's not only the way the Texas matches up personnel and scheme wise, it's also like Catch. I think what Catch was about to say was about his projected game script, and it could. I mean, it's not going to be a game like if the game goes like Catch and I predicted it's going to go. You're not going to keep handing the ball off to Taj Brooks. You're going to have to start throwing. Like that's what you do whenever you're playing from behind.
Which is why I'm already on. Hey, Baron Morton's more.
Yes.
I told you last week I'm going to take it no matter what. But then when they prize picks right now, do they still have the Christian McCaffrey Thanksgiving special? He needs a half yard. I already packaged that with the Baron Morton more. So we're on the same page, Alex. I think they're going to be throwing the ball. They're going to be playing from behind. So I'm already got an entry in for.
You think Morton, of all of the picks that you could associate with the Christian McCaffrey gimme, you think Morton, and you might be right. Like we've seen, because I think the game script's going to lend to they need to throw the football.
Yeah, and I mean, all these quarterbacks I feel like have been smashing the more against Texas in the passing numbers. So, if they're playing from behind, Texas pass defense is giving up a lot of yards. Makes a lot of sense to me, man.
I tell you what,
if you're going to take that one, I'm sorry. You can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that in itself would be a correlation play to take the less on the running back and then the more on the quarterback.
I'm going to follow you, Jason. I'm going to pair McCaffrey with Morton. That's what I'm going to do.
You're going to lose money probably because I want to.
I would say this: if Brooks has 30 carries on Friday night,
that's not good for Texas.
It might be a one-score game.
Yeah.
If he hits that kind of volume, because I think to Alex's point, that kind of game script would suggest to me a very competitive game where Tech hasn't had. That also means they've got a lot of snaps on offense. So I think the Brooks numbers, it's not the total yardage. I think it's it will be for the sake of PrizePicks, but I think from a game standpoint, if Brooks has 30 rushes on Friday night, that is potentially not. I'm not saying that means Tech's going to win. I just think that means it's going to be a much closer game than I've predicted. I do like Brooks's fantasy score of 16.5. Like, I think he gets into the end zone, and I think he gets touches. So I kind of like the idea that, maybe he picks up some yardage as a running back out of the backfield. If I was going to play Brooks, I might hit the fantasy score. If we look at the Texas guys, let's start with Quinn Ewers.
Love them more, dude. Love Quinn Ewers more.
They've got Ewers at 277.5 passing yards and a 20.5 passing score. Now, Jason, I was right last week. He did get multiple touchdown passes.
Yes, he did.
I did win of the picks that I got. Ewers' touchdowns I got right. You like the passing yards, guys?
Dude, look at his last 5. The only one who's been under that mark has been Houston, which is a game when he got hurt, of course. But Kansas 325, Oklahoma 346. I'm throwing out Houston 317, TCU 281 against a really good Iowa State defense. I just have a feeling that Sark might want to try to pour it on this game if possible. I don't think this is a game where they're going to pull their starters. If Texas is up, I don't think they're going to pull their starters early or sit on the ball. I think he blows past that number. I think he goes for 300 plus.
I'm kind of with you. I mean, if I think it's going to be 44-13, I'm going to take a lot of mores on this board for Texas players. I'm with you on the passing yards, though. I also like Xavier Worthy this week. I know he's a little banged up. This is probably going to be Xavier Worthy's last home game, and it'll probably be Adonai Mitchell's last home game. I think that, I think with Worthy, I think he's going to have a big game. I think Xavier Worthy was created to beat the crap out of teams like Texas Tech. So I'm taking the more on the 75.5. And because I think Ewers is going to go big in this game, I think we're going to see the bounce back big game from Adonai Mitchell. He hasn't had volume the last couple of weeks in high doses, but I think we're going to see them go deep. I think Mitchell's going to have a big game, so I like the more as well. Moore's all over the place so far in this game. The only one I'm not so sure about, I don't know about CJ Baxter 98.5. That's a high number.
Y'all were saying last it was 82.5 last week, and I was like, man, you just got to take it. It's like CJ Baxter's pretty good, and whenever I think that they kind of got something going with him. I'll talk about this more. Probably people will see it in my column, but it's they started running more power and gap stuff You know, and he's better at that than he is in zone. It's like Jay Brooks was a better zone runner. I think they've just found something there with him, and they've really, like, as much as they said that they wanted to play Jaden Blue and for the lip service that Sark gave him in the press conference and stuff, they didn't play him much. That's a CJ Baxter backfield. So I understand it feels a little bit high, but like whenever I put in my entries for this, I'm going to be taking the more on CJ Baxter too.
Isn't the play with Baxter the 19.5 fantasy score and take the less? Because even if he scores a touchdown on Friday night, that still means you have 130 yards of all-purpose offense. He could have 130 and a touchdown, and he would come under the fantasy score. And I wonder if the game script, Alex, what got him over 100 last week was that he got to play 4 quarters. If they win 44-13, and look, Anwar and Jason have closer games that would have Baxter playing 4 quarters. But if they do obliterate Tech, it could mean that Baxter isn't getting as many carries as he got a week ago. So I'm going to take the plus. I always hate it when I take all mores because I feel like such a sucker, right? Because like I'm doing a 6-pick entry and it's all mores. And it's like, well, somebody's got to go for less. I'm going to take CJ Baxter less on the fantasy score because, like I said, he could have 130 yards of all-purpose offense and a touchdown. And the only way you miss the fantasy score, I think, is if he scores multiple touchdowns, which is a possibility. But
if he gets like 5 or 6 catches.
I mean, he caught like I can think about like 3 balls off the top of my head he caught last week. I don't have his exact. I don't have my chart pulled up. Does anybody remember how many catches he had last week?
I'm pulling it up right now, Alex. Give me 1 sec.
I'm nearly positive there were at least 3.
Yeah, the reception thing worried me a little bit. Last week, Baxter had 5 for 13. So he got 6 points just on receptions.
Yeah, that's fair. Now you've talked me out of it.
Maybe it's just a stay away. It's kind of yeah.
It wasn't that he was effective as a receiver, but they did go to him, as you mentioned. I mean, I forget. It's 1 point per reception, right?
Yeah.
On PrizePicks, it's not like a half point PPR. Oh, it's something to consider. Maybe right now I stay away from that. What about Jatavion Sanders, 30.5 receiving yards?
Oh God, man, I'm still hurt from last week. Oh, you got if anybody had JT, my picks were perfect. It was mine were perfect on my main one. Except JT misses by 1.5 yards. Like I'll never forget it. He had 32 yards in that game because I needed 33.5.
That's so hardcore.
Yep, you both.
Yeah,
all of us.
Yeah. I mean, everybody. It hit everybody. I was in the middle of the watch along, and as soon as he went down, I was like, "No, he's at 32 yards."
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, like how effective he did come back into the game. Sark says he's going to play. That doesn't automatically mean that he's a big piece of the passing game. It's so weird the way they use Sanders.
Yeah, man. And here's the thing with him. Well, I don't know. Maybe they haven't learned their lesson about this catch, but I guarantee you, if I was one of these quality control assistants for them, I'd be like, man, every time JT Sanders plays when he's banged up, he blows miserable blocks. I'm not sure if it's the same injury or what it was the last time, but it might lead to Gunnar Helm being on the field a little bit more than JT Sanders, just because of the fact whenever he has been banged up, he's been such a liability as a blocker. So that could be something to take into consideration too. I just feel like a little bit once bitten, twice shy for JT. That probably is going to mean he's going to go off for 120 or something in this game. But
I feel like every week I've played him, I've gotten it wrong. So I think I might just stay away from Sanders.
He's this year's Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, so that's how you and I were last year on Worthy. That's right.
It's like every year, he's going to hit. He's due. And then the only thing due is us missing. All right, well, guys, anything else in this game related to PrizePicks? Anwar, any further Texas Longhorn, Texas Tech PrizePicks thoughts?
No, but I probably will. I probably would take the Xavier on the receiving yards, though. I mean, I Xavier with Quinn, that just I feel like you'll hit more sometimes than you lose as relates to that. So even I feel like they seem to be in a groove. So I like Xavier at the 75.5, especially catch if your score prediction, like you said, is close to it. Xavier's going for over 100. Not quite sure about Adonai Mitchell. He's an interesting one for me because I wish if they had points. I love Adonai Mitchell.
If he showed up at 0.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll take the more on that. It's just I just never know what he's going to do. He might have 3 touchdowns and it may be for 30 yards. Like who knows with him? So but Adonai, he's an interesting one for me as well.
One to keep an eye on if you're looking for like a stray pick. They've got Jared Wiley Friday against Oklahoma at 46.5 receiving yards. He's coming off of a monster game last week where he got receptions and broke like over 100 yards receiving. And Oklahoma can be shaky against the tight end. We've seen the last couple of years Texas gash them with a combination of both Sanders and Gunnar Helm. I think Wiley could have a big game against Oklahoma. 46.5 isn't the highest number in the world. I haven't selected Jared Wiley yet, but maybe an honorary former Longhorn pick in PrizePicks on Friday as well. Maybe I'll to get a little action in on the early 11 o'clock game on Friday. I'll mix in some Jared Wiley.
Yeah, he smashed that number the last 3 weeks. So
no, he's hot. He's hot. So anyway, well, that's it, guys. We've given our predictions. We've told you who we like in PrizePicks. Again, do us a solid, like the video, subscribe to the page, get notifications. We will see you on Friday. Not for our normal shows. Alex has got the rest of the week off. But we will have the Watch Along by Pine House on Friday night, followed by the Lowy Law Firm post-game show. So we'll be back at it on Friday. Remember, PrizePicks will 100% match your initial deposit up to $100. They're giving you money. Use that promo code Orangebloods so that they know that we sent you there. It helps us out. And because we want them to be partners again with us next year.
Damn right we do.
If we didn't, I feel like it'd be a weird football season suddenly, given the way we've used it from the last couple of years. So make sure you get not only play PrizePicks, get that. If you haven't done it before, trust me, it's a lot of fun. There are worse ways to go through life than on the weekends and during the week. Just getting a little bit of action in on PrizePicks to make your NFL games better, your college basketball games better. Trust me, I would have watched that Longhorns UConn game a little more closely earlier this week had I just had one. All I need is one for $5, and suddenly my interest level spikes. For myself, Jason, Alex, Anwar, the entire Orangebloods team, you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Here's to a Texas romp on Friday. We'll talk to you soon. Later.